Hey, what's up everybody? The first selection box is here for the month of November, and in this video, I'm going to go over everything you need to know for this first selection box. To start things off, this selection box will end on November the 7th, so you still have a little bit of time to try to get one of these Tsums if you are interested. The 12 Tsums include Elsa and Bruni, and this is going to be our pair Tsum for this selection box, Princess Jasmine, Princess Snow White, Travel Anna, Giselle, Holiday Olaf, Periwinkle, Joy, Gardner, Mother Gothel, Prince Phillip, and Lucifer. Now between this first selection box and the second selection box, I do recommend you to try to get more Tsums out of this first selection box because there's more Tsums in here that are worth getting compared to the second selection box. The second selection box is going to be more of a collector's item type of selection box because it's all Mickey Tsums, but here there's actually some Tsums in here that you might want to get. And before I go any further, if you guys are enjoying this type of content where I review Tsums, do monthly leaks, or go over the selection box and pickup capsules, please consider subscribing to this channel. Your subscription is greatly appreciated. And if you guys are looking for a community of Tsum Tsum players, you might also be interested in my Discord server. On the Discord server, you can ask for help, trade hearts, discuss different characters to use, strategies, or just talk about the game in general. You can scan this QR code on the screen to join the Discord server. I will also have invite links in the video description down below as well. Okay, now back to this selection box. Now earlier I mentioned that you should invest a little bit more in this selection box. However, there aren't any Tsums in here that are super good for missions with the exception of Princess Snow White. Princess Snow White is a Tsum that's really good for bubble missions, but all the other Tsums aren't necessarily going to be that great. However, I still do recommend you to try to spend a little bit of points on this selection box because there are some pretty good coin earners. So let's get into it and take a look at my top 3 picks for this first selection box. Coming in the number 3 spot, I have Gardner. Gardner is a really easy Tsum to use and it's really good for beginners. His ability is very simple. All you really need to do is just make sure that the entire screen has Tsums before you activate the ability. As you can see here, Gardner's ability is going to clear a diagonal line of Tsums, and it's going to clear a lot of Tsums. As long as you have Gardner at a pretty high level, you could expect somewhere in the high 30s or mid to high 30s. Sometimes you might even get into the 40s if you have a big Tsum on the screen. And Gardner also has a relatively low charge up, so you only need to clear a total of 16 copies of him to activate the ability. Combining with how many Tsums clears off the screen during the ability time, it's very easy to activate Gardner's ability. So for that reason, I have Gardner ranked in my number 3 spot in this selection box. And overall, Gardner, I have him ranked at the number 79th spot in terms of coin earning, so definitely a top 100 Tsum. At the end of this gameplay, I ended up with 3,818 coins for Gardner, so not too bad. Alright, now moving into my number 2 pick, and in the number 2 spot, I have Elsa and Bruni, the pair Tsum. Now you might be surprised here, but the reason why I put Elsa and Bruni in the number 2 spot is because they're a little bit more difficult to use. The strategy and the speed that you need to play Elsa and Bruni is going to be a little bit faster than what most people are comfortable with. However, if you are a fast player and can make change really quickly, then maybe Elsa and Bruni is more for you. But ultimately, the strategy to using Elsa and Bruni is you want to activate Elsa's ability first, and then immediately after that combine it with Bruni's ability and try to clear the purple Brunis off the screen as much as possible. You could even use the bubble to speed up the animation, but the idea here is you want to connect as many chains as possible across the screen, therefore bursting surrounding Tsums. So that's really the strategy of using Elsa and Bruni. And then also Elsa and Bruni, when you take a look at this gameplay, it does take a little bit longer to play. And that's because during the ability time, the entire clock freezes, so it's just going to take a lot of time to play through one game. So for that reason, I put Elsa and Bruni in my number 2 spot. However, Elsa and Bruni, I do have them ranked in the number 22 spot out of the entire game. So it's still pretty up there. It's definitely in the top 100, and it's a very viable Tsum to use to earn a lot of coins. At the end of this gameplay, I ended up with 4,866 coins, so definitely above what the average is in terms of coin earnings, but because of how difficult it is to use Elsa and Bruni and how long it takes to play per game, I didn't put Elsa and Bruni in the number 1 spot. And if you're wondering who the number 1 spot belongs to, that's going to go to Princess Snow White. Now I put Princess Snow White in the number 1 spot is because Princess Snow White is a really easy Tsum to use, very beginner friendly, and earns a lot of coins in a very short amount of time. Her ability ultimately will generate a lot of bubbles as well. Every single time you activate her ability, it's going to clear the center area and create bubbles as well, depending on what skill level you have her at. But because every time you activate the ability it generates bubbles, it's really good for bubble missions. But not only that, the center burst creates a lot of chains, or it creates a really long chain. And because it's a long chain, you're going to get a lot of points. For me, I ended up ranking Princess Snow White in the number 12 spot in the entire game, so definitely a really high coin earner. She's also pretty decent at combos, not the best, but you could still use her for combo missions, and because of that, she's a very versatile Tsum, and I think she deserves the number 1 spot. At the end of this gameplay, I ended up with 5,467 coins using Princess Snow White. And like I mentioned, combining with how easy it is to use her, and also it's relatively easy to activate her ability as well. Very similar to Gardner, you only need a total of 16 copies of her to activate the ability. So with that being said, you should be able to activate a lot of abilities per game, especially after her ability is activated. She's going to make magic bubbles, and you can use those magic bubbles to get her back into ability time or fever time. So a very easy Tsum to use that earns you a lot of coins. I highly recommend to try to get Princess Snow White to skill level 6. Now outside of these 3 Tsums, the rest of them aren't really going to be that great. So unless you really need a coin earner, then you could probably skip on this selection box. However, I really do enjoy using Princess Snow White, so if you do need a good coin earner, it might be worth it to try to get at least 1 copy of her, and then using skill tickets to level her up if you don't have a good coin earner. Now if you don't care about a good coin earner because you have one of the top coin earners already, then you could probably skip this selection box unless you really want Elsa Bruni. Now I am going to have gameplays for all 12 of these Tsums, so if you're curious about what the animation looked like or what the results were for the rest of the Tsums, feel free to use the timeline down below and scroll on ahead to the Tsum that you're curious about. I'm also going to have timestamps in the video description as well, so check out those 2 places and find the Tsum that you're curious about. So that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys found this video helpful, or at least entertaining. And if you would like to see more Tsum content just like this, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching.